Welcome tonight. Our session tonight is chapter 11. I'm doing just my chapters at the moment, but you'll see it fits into each other. Chapter 11 is actually about the family as congregation. The family as congregation. Now this is a really important session. I think it's actually more important than I can portray it to you tonight. It took me long years to find this out. The implications of this thing is far bigger, I think, than maybe any one of us know at the moment. And I think it's going to work it out through, not only in terms of family, it's going to work itself through in terms of community and church and lots of other things. We need to rethink the whole of life completely. And that is what it is all about. When we're talking about the family, you know, the chapter is said it's the family as congregation. Now, the moment we speak about congregation, we think of, you know, Sundays we go to a place and there we find people or we visit some people and that's a congregation. It's not wrong to think about it that way. But we must understand that the Bible says to us that our congregation starts in the home. In Philemon and a few other places, there's around about 5 places in the Bible, it says to us that I greet the congregation that is in your house. I greet the congregation that is in your house. Now that is very important. We were never against it, you know, we never said that it's wrong or whatever. But in essence, the implications of that thing is far-reaching. Because everything starts with family. But this family in the house is actually a congregation. Because where 2 or more people are together, there the Lord is, and there we have real congregation. That is really what it is all about. You see, and we must start to rethink this whole thing, because sometimes we think, okay, let's do congregation, then we go somewhere for congregation. We don't go somewhere. The congregation there is an outflow of the congregation here. Everything in our life is an outflow of your family life. You will be never bigger outside your house than you are inside your house. That's our biggest challenge. We want to be great and achieve big heights and whatever in the outside of the house. That's not wrong. But the moment you outgrow yourself on the outside that you are in the inside of the house, your life becomes lopsided, and then we go into some problems. So it is very important that we say that if anything in life starts to become an enemy of the family and the congregation in the house, there's somewhere a problem. How we are building this whole thing. That doesn't say there's something wrong, say, with congregation outside of events, of career, of things happening on the outside. But we need to package everything in the right way that it becomes an outflow of the family and it is not an add-on to the family. The family is the main thing and the only thing. You see, the Lord has packaged everything on earth in a certain way. It's packaged it in family. You know, the moment we need infrastructure for anything to package it. The moment you need to package stuff, you need the infrastructure that is maybe a logistical infrastructure, you know, like a business, you've got computers and systems and files and whatever. There's nothing wrong. When you move things, you need a real, let's say, hardware system, if you can say it like that. But the moment you want to package people, it is no longer so easy. It is no longer possible to package people in systems that is like hardware systems, if you can say it like that. You know, we've got a computer there with the Binnelandse Sake, you know, and the Department of Interior, you know, and every one of us names are there, and now we are sort of, you know, we are now packaged in this country. Yes, they know about you, but actually they don't know anything about you. They only know your name and your ID number and this few little stuff. But we are not a thing, you know, that are on the item on the list at the business. We are people. We are organisms. We are people that's living organisms. We are people that are interacting with each other. We need another type of system than just an email list or a whatever for a place where you can feel, you know, I am accommodated. We need a place, actually, in such a way that we need a place called family. That's why the Bible says that the Lord puts people in families. Die Here plaas die eensames in families. Why? Because in a family, there's certain things we need as people that is very important. I don't think that is maybe new for you, but it is important to know that in a family we have certain stuff. We have love in the first place. In the system, even at work, there's not supposed to be always people love or supposed to love each other. If it's there, it's wonderful. But in a family, the focus is that people accommodate each other, they accept each other, they love each other, they forgive each other. There is certain authority structures there, but it is not always a hierarchical structure. It is certain roles that people are fulfilling. We need safety in our lives. All of these things are actually stuff that we really need to become family. We need to be safe. We need to be able to make faults and, to be accepted and to be forgiven. We need provision in a family. We need to know that my needs are provided. There is a future for me, I can go this and I can go here and whatever is needed, it's there. We need comfort. All these stuff are stuff that's far, let's say, it's far greater than just things that we give for each other. Comfort comes out of a heart. Remember, we've said that we are relational beings. And as relational beings, we are people that communicate from heart to heart, not only from mind to mind. Okay, 1 + 1 is 2. Okay, wonderful. Good communication from mind to mind, but that's not comfort necessarily. We need a communication out of the heart, We need to look each other in the eye and communicate each other from heart to heart. That is what we need. We need comfort. We need accountability. We need a place where no one just do whatever he wants and go where he wants or whatever. We need a place where people can say, listen, this is the way I am. This is what I take responsibility for. And we talk about it. We see if you make progress. We help people. We support them. We don't police them. Accountability is not for policing people. It is for making sure that people doesn't fall through and they just disappear from the horizon and they make no progress. That's what accountability is all about. The family is a place of evangelism. I mean, most people are very, very insecure and uncomfortable when you say, let's go to the street and we're going to talk to people about the Lord. Okay, there's a guy coming. It's your turn. Talk to guy. Most people feel, yes, this is too confrontational. This is not a flow. This is not relationship. It is not necessarily wrong to confront someone, to start a talk or whatever, but that is not out of the background of a family that it is flowing. But inviting someone to come and say, come and eat with us Sunday, and we eat together, we talk, tell us about your life, and this, and 2 hours later, tell me how did you get to come to know the Lord. That's a flow. Because we are already in each other's lives, we have an emotional bank account, we have spent time in hearing each other out, in asking a question is no longer a confrontational maybe. Yes, it may be a direct question. But it is not so difficult to ask someone any type of question then. Because it's an outflow of a family gathering. You see, we need to rethink everything and they say, it is normal for you not to like maybe from confrontational evangelism because there's very few people that's liking it. There's a certain personality type that likes it. But the best evangelism thing comes out of family. That's why they say that 75% of people that get to know the Lord from someone that is a friend. It's much more than events and this and this. It is from a relationship. People are much more willing to talk to each other when there is a relationship. There's some sort of agreement, some sort of knowing each other, some sort of trust and whatever. And evangelism is not so difficult if you approach it from a family viewpoint. Even discipleship. Everything needs to be packaged within the context of family. We can have 10 rules in terms of discipleship. Listen, rule number 1 is you do this. Then you move from this group to that group. You do this. Then you go through this book and then you do this thing and then you go to that event and this training and whatever. And there's maybe nothing wrong with all of the stuff, the things, the books and whatever and the methods in essence because it's things. But if it's not surrounded with an atmosphere of relationships in which there is family. Not as a, we are a spiritual family, it's fine, but what does it mean? Have you ever been talking to me, Of course we are family, We are family of every person in roundabout on the outside, Because we all come from Adam, the same origin, the same God. We were created out of him. So it's very easy to say that in essence somewhere we are family. But what does it mean? What does this relationship between me and you mean? And the problem in our country is that, or not in the country, in the world, is that because of everything that's become so easy, we travel very far, we become overexposed in terms of relationships. And the thing that is the most under attack is our time. You still have only 24 hours, but now you have much more friends, much more people in church. You've got much more exposure at work. You've got lots of people, and your relationships become thinner. So it's very important that you need to rediscover family in your life by the way of what Hebrews 3 verse 4 to 6 says to us. It says there that Jesus was what's the word? He was faithful over his house. Moses was faithful over his house as Jesus was faithful over his house. The thing is that as you sit here, you are part of a house. And if I ask you the question, tell me who is in your house, what will you tell me? Maybe you haven't thought about it that way. Now that house is your congregation also. That's the most basic congregation that you are part of. And if I can define for you what is basically your house, even if you don't know, it is number one, if you're married, it is, if you're not married, it is number one, your family, your father, your mother, and the other kids you're staying with. Maybe you go out of house or whatever, you're married, then like you people, your wife becomes part of your house, then it's another child, it becomes part of your house, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 children, But then there's other people. If you can handle 12 relationships, with your work and all the other stuff, you are actually fully booked. We can maybe stretch this thing to 20, But let me tell you, on average, a person, if you've got 12 decent, proper relationships, your life is full. And our problem is we know, on average, most of us sitting here, we know easily 100 plus people that you can now get in your car and visit and maybe see, and they won't think you're a foreigner or whatever. Why? Because we know each other. But we don't know each other intimately. That's a problem. Therefore, you must, in terms of your house, start to define your relationships. And say to yourself, that who are part of my house at the moment? Okay, it's me, my wife, and my children at the moment. Then I say to myself, I always say, when you look at the wall, you see, when you take one stone, you will see there's 2 stones underneath, 2 on the sides, and 2 on top. There need to be, I believe, on average, 2 father figures in your life that's supporting you. People that's building into your life at the moment. People that you go to and say, listen, help me concerning this. Teach me, show me, whatever. That doesn't mean you are in this relationship forever and ever and ever. It may be only for 3 months. It may change and you get another person in. It can be for 6 months, 2 years. It can be for 10 years or whatever. It's not a time frame to the thing. It all depends on your life and what you're going through. But you need 2 people that you give accountability to and impart into your life. Otherwise, I can promise you, your life will stagnate somewhere. It will stagnate. And most people, what concerns me when I look at people, even in church situations, that is attending meetings and lots of things, and they're faithful, but they stagnate at a point. Why? Because they lack a relationship where there's transparency. We attend all the meetings and stuff and whatever, that's not wrong. But not all meetings and things go to the core of what's happening in your life. You need father figures with whom you can sit 1-to-1, not in great groups or whatever. So the one is not against the other one, hear me clearly. But we tend to go to the bigger things and the whatever, and we enjoy it, but the bigger thing do not have the depth and the intimacy than the smaller thing. You need people that you sit with and you do accountability with, and they speak into your life, help you to get perspective in your life, what to do, how to handle your marriage now in this way, or your children, or whatever. You need 2 Barnabas friends in your life. People on your side. People more or less, they're busy with the same phase of their life. They also have babies, We face the same type of stuff, It's like friends. You talk to them. They mirror to you your life. But they are not necessarily people that can advise you with wisdom. They will surely tell you some stuff because they know things that you maybe do not know. But we don't look at each other as, you are someone that I believe has got more education or more experience or whatever. There's people that's on the same level in life, and we mirror to each other. We live together, we holiday together, and we eat together because it's friends. Then you need 2 Timothys in your life. Remember Paul, father figure, Barnabas friends, Timothy children, in the good sense, in this sense, that it's people into which lives you are busy imparting and supporting. It's not your children, listen clearly, but they are part of your life, if we can. They're part of your house. They're part of your responsibility field. They're part of relationships where this is involved in. I know a lot of people in my congregation situation, but we see each other on Sundays, and that's the end of the blootstelling. What is blootstelling? Exposure. And it's not necessarily wrong. You cannot have intimate relationships with 100 people. You see, but that's where that relationship stops. You need to ask yourself, do I need to go into a further phase of relationship with these people as exposure? Because exposure isn't relationship. It's not even honeymoon. It's just exposure. It is the first phase of any relationship. I get exposure. You see some things and whatever, for who this person is and so, but it doesn't say you are not in a relationship at that point. Because we haven't shared and walked together and in anything. We're just meeting each other here. Hoe gaan het, you maybe talk 5 minutes and it's over. That's not a relationship. That's exposure. And that's not necessarily wrong. But if you take the name of those people and you invite them for dinner, you sit together and you eat together, you start to talk together, and we speak into each other's lives, that's not something else. Now there is an agreement. There is a further path we walk. And especially when you walk with people, make sure that you decide for yourself, what is this person? Ask a person, will you help me? Maybe for time, I don't know how long, but I suffer with this thing. Will you help me through this thing? Then you ask a person, you get an agreement, because after exposure, you make a decision and you get an agreement and you say, okay, we're going to walk the road together now for 3 months, 4 months, till the problem is solved. Then there is a relationship. And then maybe the relationship can sort of, chill a bit because the problem is solved, and we don't see each other so much. And maybe sometime we just hook on and say, there's something else. Help me, this and this and this. But the point is, you need to make appointments. You need to make a afspraak. What is that in English? No, that's not a point. It's appointment. We need to have an agreement. Are we doing it now? There needs to be agreement. How can 2 people walk together if there's not an agreement? Will you help me? Yes. Then there's agreement. Then there is a relationship. Before they married, they were an agreement. They decide that in this agreement, she will be the wife and she will do this and he will be the husband and this and this. There's an agreement. No relationship can exist without an agreement. But to have this type of relationships that's more into depth, we need to come to the place where we define for ourselves what is my house, because my house is my family. My house is my family. And although I am spiritual family of round about 1,000 people in my congregation situation, I'm sort of spiritual family because we are sort of family because we've got the same Father and the same Savior. That's true. I'm not in a relationship with them. I'm only in a relationship with around about 6 people. That's true. And the moment you start to give your time to the 1,000 people and you don't give your time to that 6 people, your own life will start to become shallow. You will start to get into mud. You don't get in because there's not enough input, accountability, and whatever. And that's the biggest reason we have people in church that are involved everywhere. I'm talking church about on average, but we don't make progress. Can you see in your life that you can say, January I was there. I'm now here, I can see it. I can see my life is growing. I'm growing out of things. I get more experience. I get to know things because I get exposure from other people. I get input from their lives. I get from the word and everything that's connected to it. So therefore you need to redefine for yourself your family. And you need to say to yourself that if anything is start to take away time from this, there is a problem. Because start to override it, not taking time, start override this thing. My life is absorbed by my friendship, by friends here, in such a way that it's not from here to there. I'm actually living more time, more energy there. I just come back here, home, and we see each other and the children. Then there's problems. You see, because we need to dig in at home. We need to have our relationships there. The best place to get to know them is you ask them to come and eat with you. Where? Not in a restaurant, at home. There's nothing wrong with a restaurant. But you can't have, the moment I will visit them and just walk for 5 minutes through the house, I will know an enormous lot of stuff about their lives that I don't know at the moment. Just by looking at the house. And it is not like, you're policing them. It's just, you see, there's an arty person, there's this, there's a CD, there's guitars, there's whatever, this is the atmosphere, the flavor and whatever of this house. Every person's house are different. And that's what you know the person for, and that's how you get into a relationship. Because if you don't get into the stuff that is for this person important, what are you busy with? And therefore we need to define it and say to ourselves that I need to say to myself, there is no more important word, I believe, in the Bible than if we talk about God and salvation and everything, the next thing God says, He says, family. Tell me, I put you in a family. What is family all about? The first book I wrote the name was Family Life. And that was that concept, but I never thought that it was, the extent of that concept was so far-reaching. And it becomes very far-reaching if you start to think. We will talk about it in terms of, what is it in the next session. If we talk about congregation life and culture, we are always busy creating things there. We don't create it here and export it there. We create it there. Congregation is for us to go there, and then there's problems maybe at the congregation, then everything here is in turmoil also. No, you build it here, and if you don't have control over that thing. But if that thing goes down or whatever, you still have everything in your life because you have your home, you have everything that's needed, the heart and the seed of the whole thing is still there. Because that's the place where the children starts to experience all these things. It's not in an event Sundays. It is at home. With the 2 pastors called father and mother, That's where everything starts eventually. So, if you sorted it out for yourself, who is in your house? And start to spend your time with those people that is in your house, if you can say it like that. Okay, the next thing I just want to say is we've already talked about it in Money-wise, and that is, what need to happen in this house. In this house, there needs to be a process of discipleship. What is this discipleship all about? This discipleship is actually only an outflow of the 5-fold ministry, and this is basically the 5-fold ministry. In its seed form, if you can say it like that. The prophet or the prophetic is all about the flow of prayer. It's all about hearing God's voice. That's what it's all about. When you're busy in this house and you see, you need to create and live in a certain process where we help people to get to know and get mature so that they can hear the voice of God themselves. Until the age of 3 to 6, you are the voice of God to your children. They just take you as it is. They believe in you like your voice is God's voice. That's why it's a so good time for them to accept the Lord. But thereon they start to, not distantiate, but get distance, because they want to exercise it themselves. And we need to help them to hear the voice of God themselves. We need to have fellowship. We need to sit in a situation where we can share our hearts that maybe differ from each other without, with all our differences, but without having this huge conflict situation where we scream at each other, we are in aggression with each other or whatever. Because we need to fellowship. We need a place where we can open up our hearts. And it is scarce to see how scarce it is that people can just start to fellowship and just with safety just say what is in their heart, and it will maybe the wrong thing they say, it will maybe half right or whatever, but they say it because fellowship is to have a situation where you can say what is your experience, your heart, your whatever, knowing that most probably there's something in it also wrong, maybe only 20%, but I can say it because I will never know which 20% is wrong until I can start to share it. And I can hear your side, and we can share it, and I can start build for myself a new concept of whatever I believe or in terms of relationships by just hearing your side, your experience, and how do you experience it. Fellowship is not just sit here and we say little beautiful things for each other. Fellowship is a situation where you can have an intimate relationship in saying anything that is in your heart. And we need to learn the skill to have fellowship without jy's theologies van die pad af, you're theological, you're wrong, I need to correct you, whatever. And, when you said, no, share. What is? Of course, someone else can say each other, but don't you run away or you attack or you whatever. Let's just share it. At the end of the day, everyone must on its own decide what he adds or changes in his own life or thinking or life process, but people will come to that point. We need to get to a place where we are filled with the Word as the teacher. This is the pastor, this is the teacher. We need to sit down, each one of us, and read the Word and help each other. It's not a question of, I believe it, doesn't matter, whatever. We need to say to ourselves, listen, if what you believe is not biblically based, you need to reconsider it, because there's no other basis on which we can have a starting point than the Word. We need to be followers of Christ, the apostolic. We need to get order in our lives. We need to get to a place where we obey what we believe we need to do, what the Lord is saying to us. And this process of discipleship is enormously important in the house. We need to become fisher of men. We are not only focused to the inside. Maybe some of those Timothys that you are pursuing is people that's preferably people that don't even know the Lord. But you are busy building a relationship with them, not telling them, you are a Timothy and I'm not going to this. No, you just build a relationship with someone that you see, he's not knowing where he's going. So you start to spend time with this person. You listen to all his nonsense. You visit some places with him just to get near to this person and start to hear his heart. So that you can get to a place where you can share your own life, your own heart. But we need to have the unbelievers somewhere in our own lives. We need to have them. Maybe I can maybe just write it down, another thing here. We always say there's only 3 units, or we can call it wombs, in society. And that is number 1, it is the individual. Number 2, it is the marriage. And that's the congregation. It's the only three places where new life is born. That's why we can call it the womb. It's the three units that society is built of. Society is not built out of businesses, if you can say it like that. We need businesses, it's there. But businesses doesn't normally sort of, let's say, bind society together. It gives provision to society. But the business is not in the first place there to feed the relationships and, where's your pain, how's it going with your child. The business is there to produce. It's a mechanism that we work together, but a congregation is a place where we fellowship together. It's where we listen to each other's heart. It's not number one that we produce a product. We produce growth in people's lives. But growth can only come through three units. It's the individual, the marriage, and the congregation. Now, congregation, as we said, actually all three of them makes the house. But congregation gets to that point where there's outside people of my, let's say in Afrikaans we call it gesin, or family. There's more people to your house than to your family. My immediate family is my wife and 6 children. My house is bigger than those 8 people, because there's other people that's not living with me that's part of that house, meaning I am in a agreed relationship with them. Maybe only for a time. They visit me. We flow together. We live together. We do life together. We have an agreement. There's some stuff in our lives that's just linking into each other, and we see each other, and we need to look after that relationship without let it become an ingrown thing. It's only this 3 of us and no more, and no one else will ever be part of it. Now, there's always congregation is another word for community. We need to make the whole of community congregation by just getting them to know the Lord. So out of my house there is an outreach, there is an outflow to other people that we need to attend to and live, so that we can come to the fullness of what is really worth it. So remember this. That's why tell me, you need to look after your personal life. Number 2, you need to look after the marriage, because the marriage is a birthplace of new relationships and new people. But that makes a family. But the house is that in your house there is a congregation. There's people that is part of that family, in terms of they flowing in and out, if you can say it like that. Very what do you call the word? On organic way. It's not a set thing, you are now in my house and this will be part of. No, it's not that type of thing. It's a flow of heart. I mean, we've got relationship with people that at certain stages we've seen each other each week, and maybe staying together for long times, and maybe now we see each other maybe once a month. But in essence, they're part of our house. We know it. It's people that you're linked to. It's people that will not disappear on the horizon. It's people that someone has said, you must always remember who will be on your funeral. The people that will be on your funeral is people that will go through your house at a certain time. Do you hear me what I'm saying? It's people that crossed your life, they tapped from you or you tapped from them, and we became sort of, we become sort of, entangled and learned and engaged. I don't know what's the right word, there's some sort of flow. So when that person, whatever, there is something that attached to you, said, but this is not just another person to me. I know this person. We've been walking a bit of a road together. That's why you attend that person's funeral. If there's nothing like that, then why do you attend a funeral? It's just for, okay, we know him from course, I've seen him at the shop, but otherwise I don't know anything about it. When there is an exchange, let's say it like this, when there was an exchange of hearts, it means that person was at a certain time, if you can say it like that, part of the home, and you can catch up very easily on that. But let's make sure not to put time limits and stuff and things to this. You will get to know some people, and they will be part of your life just forever without, it's just so. Other people, you just meet, you have a nice time, and we see each other, but it is a natural thing. We don't control it. It's a thing that just flows. But the people that's in your house, you need to be deliberately, directly with them and say, listen, I feel that I spend time with you because of this and this and this. And I see you as someone that can this and this and this and whatever. And get those people. It was the time when my life started to grow the fastest. Is when I started to define, let's say more or less, friends and fathers. When I heard about the guy that's got something, and I said, this guy needs something. He knows something I don't know, I was driving out of the Cape into Pretoria, visiting, making appointments, doing everything to get exposure and sit down and talk and have as much time as possible with these people. And it brought lots of clarity in my life. But I had to make enormous lots of commitments and sacrifices to get into that relationships. Because I knew about them, they knew nothing about me. And I need to ask for that type of relationship, although sometimes it was for 3 hours, for weeks, or whatever, it will differ at the end of the day. Okay, we can close off and just say, in the book it is under the what is it, the heading of tips about the family. You can maybe read it there. But the family remains the place where you actually can do everything. It's a place where atmosphere is number one, very important. Because if a family doesn't have an atmosphere, if the atmosphere is constantly, in each other's hair and aggressiveness and, just, we're irritated by each other, it becomes something that starts to permeate through everyone, and everyone, and the children doesn't want, especially when it starts with the father and the mother. We need to understand that all of family flows from a father figure. And the father is the main thing in this, and the father, and let's understand that the woman is also a father, eh? We've seen it in the role of the father. The woman is a supporting figure in the fathering world, because she's got all the fathering elements in her, like identity and security and authority and what was the other one? Security, significance, and whatever. So she's everything, but she's just in a supportive confirmation mode, if you can say it like that. Because the father and the mother are together, the father figure and the atmosphere and everything. And we need to guard our hearts in terms of our relationship with each other. Because the overlap of your marriage relationship will become the field in which the congregation will grow. And even that congregation is your children. There are people that's in your house that will leave one day. They are also now in your house, but they will leave one day. And you must make sure that their stay in this marriage or whatever becomes such a way that the impression of this house must be such an impression that they will, when they one day leave, they will know what is the answer because they have seen the answer. Now, they don't always understand everything of the answer, but they have seen the answer being lived in front of them. And that is a very important thing. It is very difficult to run away from something that has been lived 18 years before your eyes, and you just walk away and say, don't worry. It will haunt you for the rest of your life. There's no bigger place of modeling that brings an impression in people's lives than having someone for 18 years in your life. It's just like that. I mean, you just can't just walk away because you've got a very clear, vivid picture of whatever it is. Hopefully not something that you want to run away from, but something you are glad for. You see, in this situation, it's not about, say, number one, theology and opinions or whatever. It's about example. It's about living the thing that you want to, in showing the example how we live it. It's much better to show your children how you love your wife than just telling them, you need to love your wife one day, If you live the example, the impression is much better and much bigger in their lives. We need to sit together. We need to talk about the Word. We need to talk about life. We need to talk about everything. We need to read the Bible together. We need to talk about this stuff. And we need to get to a point where we need to say to each other that the other places, like maybe like even as Childwise, the conferences and the Sunday events and the preaching and the children's church, that's optional extras, people. That's optional extras. That's not essential stuff. Essential stuff is the house. If you miss the house, you can bring in all the optional extras. Yes, it will have an influence, and it's in some people's lives because they open a big influence. But it doesn't guarantee the extras. The thing that guarantees is the house. The house. Now, how you live family in your house is the thing that's guaranteed. Maybe your children doesn't always agree with you. Don't worry about it if they agree or not agree. Just live the example. Just live what you know you need to live so that they will have a clear video about life in front of them. Because I tell you, one day when they get confronted by something, maybe in a marriage or in a career, the video will start play in front of them. And they will have the answer in their video, if you can say it like that. It's the house is not necessarily the place where we agree in everything. The point is, you will never have fellowship, real fellowship, if we want to force everyone to agreement in everything. People are in different phases of growth. A child of 5 years will see things different than a child of 12 years and 18 years and 25. They all see things together because they see it from a different phase of life. And don't force an 18-year-old opinion on a child of 10 years. Leave him. He will get 18 years. You don't know what is, you just spend, you just eat in his house, you don't know what it costs. Leave him. At 25, he will start to pay for himself, and he will start to realize. On 10 years, a child is not supposed to pay for himself. Don't tell him, you are irresponsible or what. Teach the child the principles. He will get to a phase where he will get the exposure, and he will realize that we needn't to agree in everything. Just share it. They will file it, and one day when they get there, they will say, I always heard my brother saying this, it's so true. They always say, you can't believe in a child's phase between 18 and 25, how quickly their parents get mature in that phase. Meaning they discover their parents were actually correct, It's just a phase when you get into exposure, you start to realize, my parents have said lots of things. It didn't correspond with me, but now it corresponds. But we can have a fight at 18 years, but we don't need to have a fight. We just need to talk to each other. We can help each other. We can win souls. We can evangelize through family, through house. We don't need to have, we can have as a family, we can have outreaches. We can visit people. From our children was born, 5 o'clock in our home was going out. Any Wynkies. Then we go out, we visit people, we talk to them about the Lord, and we targeted definite people. We know tomorrow 5 o'clock we go to that person, and we organize out. We evangelize people, and the whole family goes with. I remember, when we have presented Childwise many years ago for lots of congregations, and then we took all the children with, and often we've heard this thing that the people say, especially the people we were staying with, they said, in seeing you as a family together and looking at the children, I am more convinced about whatever you've said because, I was more impressed with this. I didn't hear everything you said, but this impressed me. That you can talk to a child and say no, and the child listens. It's incredible. You don't scream at a child. People are impressed by things like that. We can talk about discipline and it's well, but in seeing discipline firsthand happening in front of you, it impressed people enormously. Because it is a living example. Your family, and my family was always a bigger preaching method than was all our preaching on Childwise. Because people were more impressed by our children than by our teachings. And that's correct. Because that's how it's working. I remember, wherever we go, through the country, we've got a book. Now, this is the book you've got, but the book has got the photo of the children, the small. And then we get there, the parents will say, this is the uncle and the auntie, from the book. You know that with the 6 children, those people from the book, that has taught us how to discipline you. This is now the people. It was always crazy to hear that type of stories. And the house is the place where people discover their creative purpose, they discover themselves, they discover their identity, they exercise their capabilities and whatever. They fail and they get forgiven, they know they're accepted. The house is a place where we never give up. It's a place where we know people are in processes in life, Going now through a thing, even though it's severe, it's severe, but we never give up. Why? Because family is a place where you never give up. We don't agree, we may be in a confrontational situation, but we know that actually the Lord is on the road with every one of us. It is not me as the father and the mother that needs to be in control of everything in my child's life, and everything must run perfect and whatever. No, it will not happen like that. And when things sometimes looks as if it gets out of control, you just stay with the Lord and say, Lord, it is your child. The people in my house are the property of the Lord. They are just my responsibility in my house. They are not my property. I have paid nothing for them. I have received all of them for free in relationships in my life. I've got the responsibility towards them. But I cannot save them. I cannot change them. I cannot force them. I can nothing them. The best that I can do is just to live my part of this house, of whatever role I have in this house, and just live it. And stick to your role, and stick to your faith, and stick to your heart, and keep your heart with every person that is in your house, and be open and clear with those people, and just leave the rest for the Lord, because what else can you do? And don't get into disappointment and all this stuff, and you get into a dumps and whatever. No, we don't go there. I look after my situation. I give whatever I have. I take my responsibility in my house, but I know who is my house. And I don't allow anything from the outside to steal from this house.